I am Pule Molebatsi, back again this week with your weekly dose of positive and uplifting news. This is Stories Untold. It is our stories that shape and influence our view of the world. Let's face it, we all go through challenges one way or the other, but it is how we overcome those challenges that make us who we are. Today, we are telling the story of an author to a book titled Pieces to My Puzzle, a sexual abuse survivor who took back the power by refusing to be victimized by the cards that life dealt her. Today, she is using that story to mentor other young women through her organization, Sisterhood. This is the story of Sibongile Nzima.
37-year-old Cornelia Nzima is a teacher at Krugersdorp High, west of Johannesburg. She has recently published a book, Pieces to My Puzzle, an outlet for all the pain she's carried since childhood. Part of her story is embedded in the ability to understand the power of the ripple effect, basically how things in our lives tend to give birth to other things.
I was raised by a single mom, even though I knew my dad. And I tried making contact with my dad, but unfortunately, he didn't want to take any responsibility. And this pursuing to and fro between us, it happened from primary school, high school, all the way to my first year at varsity. And then in the interim, my mom met my stepdad. Lovely individual. Unfortunately, he was very abusive. So I was exposed to abuse in the house to a point where sometimes when he had just beaten up my mom and he was angry, he would force us to go to his mother's house, regardless of the time frame, whether it's like AM or it's like during the day. And unfortunately, that exposure to abuse, it put a very bitter, sweet taste in my mouth as far as men are concerned, because I had a father who didn't care, and I had this man who's meant to be a father figure, and he did what he did, even though he had his beautiful moments. Then my first day at varsity, so I started school when I was 4 going on 5. I matriculated when I was 16. My first day at varsity, I was raped. And I kept quiet about it. It took me like 3 years to tell my mom. But in that interim, I then had found out that due to the rape, I was HIV positive, making 2021 like 20 years of me living with the HIV virus because of that incident.
17 years old at the time and a first-year student at university, this was her encounter with freedom.
You know, around campuses, you get your student communes. So I was in a commune, and in that commune, one of the boyfriends, let's say like your boyfriend comes, for example, and your boyfriend is looking for you, and he finds me. And he says to me, I'm looking for Unomvoyo, where is she? She's like, no, Unomvoyo is on campus. And your boyfriend says, okay, can you please, like, let's all go to campus so that you can call Unomvoyo for me. I'm like, no, it's cool. I'm on my way to campus anyway on that day. On that day, I was on my way to campus. So when we get to campus, I get to the library, I find you, I call you and I say, your boyfriend is looking for you. I leave you with your boyfriend, and your boyfriend is there with his cousin and some of his male friends. As I'm about to leave, you say to me, you want to spend time with your boyfriend, but unfortunately, you're the only girl in the midst of like about 4 to 5 guys. So do I mind just hanging out with you for the ride because you want to spend time with your boyfriend? I know you, we come from the same commune, so I don't have any other reason to doubt, because already, at least I know you amongst everyone else. And I've seen your boyfriend come to the commune a couple of times. We then drive off to the night. And along the way, one of the friends makes a pass on me. I reject him. Later on, another friend decides, okay, guys, it's time out for me. I'm going to leave you guys, continue where you are going. He goes off. So now we are left with you, your boyfriend, the cousin who is the owner of the car, and this other guy who had made a pass on me earlier on. Then the cousin says he needs to go via his place at Q to go pick something up before he drops us back to the commune where we stay. And literally our commune is just like 5 minutes away from Rao. And when we get to the parking lot, he instructs the one guy, the one that I had rejected earlier, to say, stay here, we are going up. So I ask you, Nomvuyo, what's happening? Why are we going up? And it looks like now we're going up as couples, like 2-2. And this one guy is told to stay behind parking lots. And then you're like, no, he's just going to grab whatever it is, we'll come back. I'm like, okay, fine, I know you. So we go in there. When we get in there, he takes out a gun in front of you and in front of your boyfriend. He beats me up in front of you and in front of your boyfriend. He drags me to the bedroom in front of you guys.
Well, what are they doing? I'm sorry to interrupt.
Nothing. You are scared. You are telling your boyfriend to tell his cousin to stop. Your boyfriend is telling you, as much as he's my cousin, he's also older than me and I'm afraid of him and he's got a gun. Right. In the midst of all that, you are aware that I get raped. By the time we are taken back to the commune, the only thing you can say is, sorry about what happened. And I consistently ask you, what happened? To date, you can't even utter it with your own words that I watched you get raped and I was there and I'm sorry. There was a whole lot of guilt because coming from home, my mom had restrictions, you know. You come from home, you know, after 6 o'clock you cannot be found wanting the streets. You are at home. And you get to varsity, like, there's no parent, there's that freedom. So in my journey, in talking to young people, I talk about the dangers of the freedom that varsity does award us. And if we don't know how to manage the freedom, that very freedom can be a distraction for us.
Cornelia further details that dark period of her life.
I never knew that I wanted to commit suicide until I had gone through that. That's the first thing. I found an escape in writing. And I started writing even before this incident happened. Being raised in that abusive family environment, I just needed an outlet. So I started dating in grade 7. I dated this guy from grade 7 until my first year varsity. And after the rape incident, we broke up. I realized that I was angry. 2 days after this incident, I remember I had pills. I remember crying myself to sleep. And when I woke up, I had failed to drink the pills that I meant to take because I just felt I could not. I could not endure this. I could not live through this. And I started shunning away from going home. I wouldn't visit home. Anytime my mom would say, I'm on holidays, are you not coming home? I'd give an excuse. I went to the Faculty of Education. I sought employment as a student assistant. I got it, and I just got myself busy with everything else, just not to deal with what I had gone through.
When did you deal with it?
I think I'm still dealing with it, but part of me is when I eventually got to a place where I was able to talk about it and not necessarily break. You know, one of my outlets was the opportunity I was awarded in class, where I would talk about this. Whenever my students had to do prepared speech, I would take this opportunity and speak about my life's journey as prepared speech. So I always use the same topic to do prepared speech. And at the end of showing them what I expect them to do when they do their prepared speeches, then you would find girls coming and saying, ma'am, actually this is happening to me. As I'm talking to you right now, someone is molesting me at home. I found girls who could relate. I found girls who were saying, if you have gone through this and you are still standing, my mom is going through this and I was about to kill myself. But thank you, ma'am, for sharing your story. And that helped. The issue of HIV, honestly speaking, people knew that I was raped, but I think I was too ashamed of the HIV component of it. You spoke earlier about church. I believe that if I had taken ARVs, I would be going against my faith. And it's one of the things that I had to fight against. You know, we proclaim that Jesus has healed us as Christians. And as a youth leader, because I was a youth leader then at church, as a youth leader, someone who had grown being exposed to her life in Christ, I had a faith battle that I had to fight. My mom knew about my status. She begged me to take ARVs. And I would always say to her, I will not take ARVs. Jesus has healed me.
Welcome back to Stories Untold. Today we are detailing the multi-layered story of sexual abuse survivor Sibongile Nzima. Her past is riddled with pain and the inability to trust, not just in herself but those around her. But that changed when she met her ex-husband. In this segment, she takes us through that journey.
On your chapter 5, you talk married, divorced, and single. How did that come about and how did it end?
Oh my, okay. I had stopped dating. I never believed that I would get married. I would drag the notion of telling someone about my status. I would date, but if I have to tell you about my status, I'm like, oh flip, I'm going to be rejected, so this is not going to happen. Then at church, I met this individual, and I told him about my status at church, and he was okay with it. Even though we never went to test together, I knew my status, so I was easy. It was easy for me. Actually, I disclosed with the intention of pushing him away, because I had used it as a barrier that I'm not going to get hurt, and this is how I'm going to live my life. So when he accepted me and what I had said, I think for me it was like, wow, saving grace. You know, it's like, oh my, there's actually an individual who knows about my status and who'd accept me completely. And I was open to that. And then we got married after a year. Then, unfortunately, we married for wrong reasons. For me, it was literally, I was afraid that I was never going to get married. And there was someone who accepted me for this. He got married because for whatever reasons that he had, and I can't speak for him. And we had our challenges. Then a year after our marriage, but 3 months after our marriage, my health started deteriorating. And that's when, for the first time, I started ARVs. And after 3 months, it was like, I can't live on medication. I've lived from 2001 without medication. I feel like I'm now stronger. I've treated the TB, but I can't continue with ARVs. So in my marriage, I stopped ARVs. And in 2017, around November, we found out that we were pregnant. And unfortunately, in December, we lost the pregnancy. We had an ectopic pregnancy, and they had to remove one of my tubes, and that affected us. In 2018, I was in Portview Clinic, admitted for depression. And coming back from Portview Clinic, I think I knew then that I wanted to walk away from this marriage because I had to come to terms with me and reasons why I did the things that I did. And then we just went our separate ways. So we got married in 2016 and we were separated by 2018.
It was then that Cornelia says she discovered herself.
One of the greatest things that I discovered was I'm not going to shun away with the HIV anymore. It is not who I am. It does not define me. And I'm not going to live my life in fear. Right now, as Christian as I am, as believing as I am in my faith, I've chosen that I want the best life. You know, I say in the book there that this life, it's good, there's better, and there's the best. I'm at a point where I want the best of life. And because I want the best of life, I am on ARV. And I'm loving my treatment. Currently, my CD4 count is above 480. My viral load, the virus in my system, it cannot be detected. So I am living the best. I had to accept what is happening and learn and know that it does not define who I am. So if I am to date and tell you about it and you reject me, it is because of your fears. And I understand that.
With that confidence also came the passion she had buried.
So I always knew that I wanted to work with people. And in my final year high school, I then refined it to what type of people would I want. I knew that I wanted to work with young people. I wanted to influence the lives of young people and make sure that they don't necessarily fall into the same pitfalls that most of us fall through, and we are afraid to speak about it because we are afraid of what people will say. I knew that I could not handle primary school. So when I went into varsity and I took up my qualification in B.Ed FET, which is my Bachelor of Education in Further Education and Training. It was specifically mainly on high school teaching.
Hence the school she currently teaches at, and because she deems this her purpose, this isn't the only place where she uses her life story to embrace and uplift young women.
It has become a wonderful outlet where I publicly talk about the mistakes I made, what I've learned from them, the time where I grew up and I used to hate my mom. I couldn't understand why she stayed in an abusive marriage, why she would expose us to for such a very long time, you know. And I saw her as this queen who was dethroned and we're supposed to love her. And I couldn't understand that. And I would talk in class with my students about how we don't understand where our parents are at. And as young people, we find ourselves rebelling because of that. But when I told my mom about my rape incident and how she broke, I realized that we don't understand the perspective of our parents. And we don't understand that our parents are also parents learning to be parents, because there's no perfect manual in parenting.
Welcome back. We are almost at the end of our show, and we're also wrapping up the story of Sibongile Nzima. When we began our show today, we mentioned that she is an author of a book titled Pieces to My Puzzle. Now we get into details about that project. We also look at her mentorship program, Sisterhood.
I teach English. I love the literature. I love the language. But I had an opportunity to go beyond the content in class. And that's where I started mentoring, indirectly mentoring both girls and boys. And this is where I am now. I've worked at the Johannesburg West District as a district official. After 3 years sitting behind a desk, I missed a classroom interaction. I missed the kids. So I resigned. And in 2019, I started here at Krugersdorp High School.
She takes the girls and makes them feel special, because they are special. And they don't always realize that. And it's also good for them to feel that they have support in the fact that they're growing up and becoming young ladies. Our vision and our mission as well is to produce young adults who are worthy young adults. And so it fits in with our school ethos and vision and mission.
Gail Derrick is the deputy principal at the school. She was also the first to purchase her book.
I mean, I wanted to see what she had to say. And I know a little bit of her story because she works here. But yeah, I wanted to support her and I wanted to read her book, see what she'd have to say. Yeah.
You say you knew just a bit about her. Was she open about the story or?
Some parts of it. There are some people who know, and now I think more people know what has happened to her in her life and how her life has been and why she is the person she is, because she is amazing.
I started reading it and then I read like the first 3-4 chapters and I was like, no, let me put it down because I need to sleep now and prepare for work. And then later on I went back and I read and I finished it.
Sinoxolo Hashe is her colleague.
She is very open and honest. I think I found some things in the book. I was like, I can't believe that she wrote this. I don't believe that someone else would have the strength or would even be that brave to open up in that way. I for one would not. But also in how she opened up in her book and she spoke about her life experiences and all of that. I got to see myself and I got to relate and I got to understand a lot of things better. So I feel like it's a book that people can read and they can relate to and they can get to learn things and get to understand things in different ways and see things in ways that they've never seen them in before.
Well, firstly, that you can overcome your circumstances, I think. And things that happen to you, you grow from those experiences, because that's what she's done. In another 20 years, she could write another book, that would actually be probably quite different to this one.
What is that one chapter that stuck with you?
the one chapter. Probably the chapter 7, which is called Living Positive, where she says, how to, sort of it looks going forward, where she sort of looks back and then she says, but this is what I'm going forward to do. And to me, that was quite nice. And she talks about, she made sometimes the wrong choices, don't we all?
She's at peace with her life. She's at peace with herself. And that's the one thing that stood out for me. The fact that she was able to write all these things and write about all her experiences and put it out there and not care who might get her book and read it, and not feel like if this person sees this book or if this person knows that I've written about this part of my life, they might treat me differently or judge me. So I feel like she's at peace with who she is and where she is in life.
The more we keep quiet, we are contributing to the destruction of many. The more we try to not talk about it because we are afraid of what people will say and how we will be judged, the more those who look up to us believe that we are perfect. And when they fall short and they have imperfections, they judge themselves so harshly because we have not been honest enough to expose our own imperfections.
As you are sitting there right now, the pieces to your puzzle, is your puzzle complete? Would you say it's complete?
The first one is, so you know how you get different puzzles. So I do indicate that yes, you have a few pieces to complete this puzzle, but just because that puzzle is complete does not mean that there's no other puzzle. Meaning, as long as you are still living, you will always be dealt pieces.
It's sad in places, the book, very sad, but I think that, at the end, you realize why she's the person she is, that she is such an amazing lady, is because of what she's gone through, I think.
I want to achieve a group of young people who would firstly understand that they are individuals and they have their own walk, their own destiny. I would want to achieve an environment where parents are aware that their kids are individuals, and parents should at some point stop projecting their own fears upon their own kids. Stop projecting their own expectations upon their own kids, but allow your child to fail. Just because you have failed does not make you a failure. It's a process. Under Sisterhood, one of the programs that I run with the young girls, we talk about how you take a rough rock, a gem, and you put it through fire. The fire is meant to purify the stone. And at the end, you have this diamond that everyone wants. So if you are going to be a diamond one day, learn to understand that what you go through does not define you, but it purifies.
And on that uplifting note, we hope that Bongile's story has shown you at home, if you are going through a similar experience, that you're not alone. All you have to do is speak out. There's always someone out there who's willing to listen and travel with you. From myself, Pulemo Lebati, thank you again for journeying with us through this experience. Let's do this again, same time, same place.